Reports suggest a covert strategy under consideration in Washington would deploy naval mines covertly in strategic chokepoints to deter or degrade hostile naval operations, a move framed by proponents as a low-visibility way to raise the costs of aggression without committing overt strike forces. The United States is accelerating development of autonomous undersea vehicles and unmanned submarines designed to operate quietly, persistently, and with reduced risk to crewed platforms, expanding options for surveillance, mine-laying, and precision strikes in contested littorals. Defense contracts and procurement documents point to high-cost programs, such as the so-called Medusa concept, that aim to automate mine emplacement and remote denial functions using advanced robotics, sensors, and networked control systems. Strategists argue that clandestine mine warfare, enabled by robotic platforms and deniable deployment modes, could blunt the maritime advantages of adversaries allied with Iran, complicate their fleet operations, and impose asymmetric costs while limiting overt escalation. Amid global tensions, the US Navy is focusing on boosting its stealth warfare, accelerating investments in low-signature systems and doctrinal changes intended to give American forces greater freedom to act in contested littorals without immediately revealing intent or platform locations. The US Navy has given another $14 million boost to a secretive robotic mine-laying submarine program, signaling senior leadership's belief that automated, deniable capabilities will play a growing role in shaping naval access and deterrent strategies. The system known as Medusa is designed to secretly deploy naval mines from US submarines, enabling covert denial of critical sea lanes while reducing risk to crewed vessels through remote emplacement and expendable delivery mechanisms. The US Navy awarded General Dynamics Mission Systems a $13.97 million contract modification, providing targeted funding to accelerate prototype development, integrate subsystems, and prepare the program for more advanced sea trials and engineering evaluations. The funding will support prototypes, software, support equipment, and related engineering work, with resources directed toward refining autonomy stacks, guidance algorithms, launch interfaces, and the logistics needed to transition from laboratory demonstrators to operational prototypes. Medusa stands for Mining Expendable Delivery Unmanned Submarine Asset, a name that reflects its mission concept: an unmanned, single-use vehicle that can be launched covertly to emplace mines and then be expended while the host submarine withdraws. Medusa showcases the Navy's shift toward stealthy, uncrewed mine warfare against larger fleets, reflecting a strategic pivot that pairs low-cost autonomous systems with high-value manned platforms to multiply effect while preserving crew safety. The robotic vehicle launches from a torpedo tube, then travels independently to deploy its mine, using onboard navigation and sensors to transit denied areas and position payloads with accuracy before its mission concludes. The system is expendable, so the launching submarine can leave immediately after firing, minimizing loiter time in heavily monitored waters and reducing the probability that the host platform will be detected and targeted. The capability could let US submarines operate clandestinely in heavily monitored waters, inserting denial capabilities into choke points or approach corridors without overt surface or air activity that would otherwise alert adversary surveillance networks. US Navy planners see offensive mining as a way to offset China's larger ship numbers, arguing that distributed, hidden mines could impose asymmetric costs, channel adversary movements, and blunt massed fleet operations. Early testing off the Massachusetts coast has already demonstrated rapid progress, with sea trials validating basic launch mechanics, communications links, and short-range navigation in realistic maritime conditions. Trials focused on propulsion, navigation, and autonomy for uncrewed underwater missions, concentrating on the core technologies that determine endurance, waypoint accuracy, obstacle avoidance, and safe arming or emplacement of payloads. The US Navy's Unmanned Maritime Systems Office oversees the program and future sailor tests, coordinating between acquisition, fleet operators, and research labs to ensure the concept matures with operational input and rigorous evaluation. The current development phase is expected to continue through July 2028, a schedule that covers iterative prototype builds, expanded at-sea trials, and incremental capability deliveries toward an initial operational concept. General Dynamics is also building Hammerhead, a moored torpedo mine that waits for targets, complementing Medusa's emplacement role with a persistent, sensor-triggered defensive effect in designated maritime zones. Medusa could later launch from other unmanned platforms, like Boeing's Orca drone submarine, offering flexible deployment options that leverage a family of uncrewed systems across mission sets and launch points. The US Navy sees robotic mine-laying submarines as key to contesting Chinese naval dominance, treating autonomous denial tools as force multipliers that complicate adversary planning and contribute to layered deterrence in regional contingencies. Meanwhile, China seemed to spook Trump's ally with its latest ballistic missile launch, an event that underscored how parallel advances by potential adversaries shape the strategic rationale for rapid U.S. investment in clandestine, undersea capabilities. Tensions between China and Taiwan are escalating after Beijing's latest nuclear upgrade heightened security concerns across the region. Taiwan is warning global powers that China's recent military actions could fundamentally change the status quo in the Indo-Pacific. Taipei accused Beijing of deliberately carrying out pressure tactics in the Taiwan Strait to intimidate the self-governed island. A senior Taiwan official on July 8 claimed China is deliberately pushing the limits with the United States and other allied nations. However, China, on July 7, insisted its Pacific missile launch was nothing more than a routine military training exercise.
If an authoritarian country does not change the status quo through a one-off military action, but instead advances a little bit each day, increasing Coast Guard activity today, expanding military exercises tomorrow, conducting so-called law enforcement inspections of merchant vessels the day after, and then, in the next step, interfering with our undersea cables, the international shipping order or information systems, then we have to ask from which day can we say that the status quo has already been changed. This is the greatest danger of the gray zone tactics. Each individual action may not appear to trigger an international crisis. With each increase in pressure, we may judge that it still does not constitute war. But when a series of actions accumulate, it may create an entirely new status quo. Shipping routes may begin to be altered, while insurers and investors recalculate risks and frontline law enforcement personnel come under greater pressure. And the international community, through repeated judgments that each incident still falls short of a crisis, gradually becomes accustomed to things that should never have been regarded as normal in the first place. In the end, we may suddenly discover that no decisive war ever occurred on any particular day, yet the original status quo no longer exists.
This test launch was a routine military training activity conducted by the Chinese Armed Forces and was not directed at any specific country or target. We provided advance notification to the Solomon Islands and other nations in the South Pacific region, as well as to other relevant countries. The activity was in accordance with international law and international practice. I wish to emphasize that China is committed to a path of peaceful development and a nuclear strategy of self-defense, and consistently maintains its nuclear forces at the minimum level required for national security. There is no need for relevant countries to overinterpret this. Diaoyudao and its affiliated islands are China's inherent territory. The operations of Chinese scientific research vessels in the waters surrounding the islands fall within the scope of China's sovereign rights. They are legitimate, lawful, and beyond reproach. China firmly opposes Japan's interference with these legitimate operations and has lodged solemn representations with the Japanese side.
However, China's Pacific missile launch has put the United States and its allied nations on edge over Beijing's growing military ambitions. Analysts said the launch appeared to be aimed more at deterrence than at testing a new generation of missile technology. The test publicly showcased China's sea-based nuclear deterrent for the first time since a similar launch in 1982. Type 094 Jin-class submarine. Class, a nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, SSBN, built to provide China with a continuous sea-based nuclear strike capability. Displacement, estimated to displace around 11,000 tons while submerged, making it one of the largest vessels in the PLA Navy submarine fleet. Crew, operated by an estimated crew of 130 to 140 personnel, responsible for navigation, combat operations, and strategic missile systems. Strategic role, forms the backbone of China's sea-based nuclear deterrent, supporting Beijing's second strike capability as part of its expanding nuclear triad. Estimated range, more than 10,000 kilometers, giving the missile the reach to engage targets across intercontinental distances. Mission, designed to carry out long-range intercontinental nuclear strike missions as a key component of China's sea-based nuclear deterrent. Reach, reportedly capable of reaching the US mainland from launch positions in Chinese waters, reducing the need for submarines to sail into the open Pacific. Significance, represents China's newest generation of submarine-launched ballistic missiles, significantly strengthening the credibility and survivability of its sea-based nuclear deterrent. The launch marked another significant step in Beijing's effort to build a fully operational and survivable nuclear triad. Zhao Tong said, and I quote, "This missile test appears to have been intended more for strategic signaling than for technical experimentation or operational development. Although China has long been understood to possess this capability, this marks its first public demonstration." Unquote. The United States said it tracked the missile test and again raised concerns about China's expanding nuclear capabilities. Washington described China's rapid and opaque expansion of its nuclear forces as an issue of growing global concern. China's nuclear triad: land, intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of delivering long-range nuclear strikes against strategic targets across continents. Sea, ballistic missile submarines armed with JL-series submarine-launched ballistic missiles, providing a survivable sea-based nuclear deterrent. Nuclear-capable bombers equipped to carry air-launched ballistic missiles, adding flexibility to China's strategic strike options. Purpose: designed to ensure a credible second strike nuclear capability, allowing China to maintain deterrence even after potential first attack. Japan, Australia, and New Zealand also voiced concern after China's missile launch over the Pacific region. Beijing urged other countries not to overinterpret the test and defended its long-standing nuclear policy. Analysts said the launch could encourage US allies to increase defense spending and strengthen military coordination.